Good afternoon, everyone. Quality Research, Emerging Trends and Challenges, an online recorded lecture at 1 week national level multidisciplinary online faculty development program being conducted by the Government Degree College in Karnataka, Bhagalkot. The faculty development program is on research methodology, emerging perspectives, challenges and opportunities. Yeah, let me introduce myself. This is Dr. K.V. Achalapati, retired professor from Osmania University, Director, Dhanvantari Institute of Science and Technology, Hyderabad, and Secretary and Correspondent, Dhanvantari Sri Chaitanya Degree and PG College, Mahbub Nagar. This is a faculty development program. The topic given to me is the quality research, emerging trends and challenges. Yeah, all of you already in the first session, and they must have taught you what is research, how do you identify the problem of research, and then what is research design. These two must have been covered by my predecessor. So this is a second lecture which will focus on purely quality research. What do you mean by quality research? What is the criteria in evaluating a quality research? Standards of assessing the quality research. How do you assess the quality research? Then how do you standardize the reporting of research? You may do a good research, but how do you report it is also important. Then what are the emerging trends in quality research and what are the challenges? These are the 6 topics which I am going to cover in coming 45 minutes. What is quality research? See, the quality research most commonly refers to the scientific process encompassing all aspects of study design. In particular, it pertains to the judgment regarding the match between the methods and questions. What do you mean by methods and questions? See, the questions we mean research questions. See, if research questions and methods are not in coexistence, then it is not a quality research. See, mostly students will come with a precondition that I should apply t-test, I should apply z-test, I should apply SPSS, then I must apply ANOVA, I must apply this, that, etc. See, the statistical methods or methods of research, I will go for survey method, I will go for experimental method. You can't decide all those things. You are putting the cart before the horse. Basically, you must remember that your methods will depend upon the research questions. So the research questions will emanate from the literature survey. The literature survey will guide you about the identification of research problems. What do you mean by it? A success lies in identifying a right question for the research. See, you have something in your brain to do research, some area, some topic which you have in your mind. There could not be any reason for it. When you want to do the research in that, the first and fundamental thing to be done is, in that area, what is the existing level of knowledge? You must make a survey. That's called literature survey. The existing level of knowledge must fail to answer your questions. If they are not failing to answer your questions, there is no need for you to do any research. Only when a confusion is created in your brain that your existing level of knowledge in the world is not able to answer your research questions, then you have identified the reason for research. Otherwise, research question is not clear. If research question is not clear, you cannot choose the methodology. So first and fundamental thing is to match between methods and questions. Then comes selection of subjects. What do you mean by subjects here? When I say subjects, it could be a variable. The variable could be human beings. The variable could be animals. Variables could be things. Variables could be abstract figures like financial figures also. So what are the subjects you are choosing to make them test or to prepare them for test? So those subjects, how do you select? Selection of subjects depend upon the research questions once again. If your research question, for example, is to examine whether the nutritious food will have impact on the performance of a school student, especially primary school, then you must select schools which are providing midday meals. And then in the midday meals, what are they supplying? And then you can experiment another school by controlling the variables, and then you are supplying the nutritious food of what you are examining. So nutritious food in the controlled school, you will supply the nutrient which you want to examine. And the other school which is not under your control will be chosen for testing it with normal midday meal supplied by the government of Telangana or government of India. Then what happens is you will compare the performance of both the kids, their IQ levels, their sustainability levels, their emotional levels, their ability to absorb the class. The focus is on those aspects, but not basically only on the food. However, you have chosen the schools both from the same area, both are government schools, both are slums, so you are neutralizing the background of the subjects. After neutralizing the background of the subjects, then you are applying two different midday meals. Then you are comparing. This is called selection of subjects. Appropriately, you are selecting the subject. The subjects are selected according to the question raised, that is impact of nutritious food on performance of kids in primary school. So that way you must go for it. Similarly, measurement of outcomes. See, the results, outcome means results. Results will come after you process them. The subjects chosen will be tested and test results will come, and those results are called outcomes. Those outcomes are measured, and then you will have to get the results outcome. So when you get the outcome, that outcome will be interpreted by different people different way. The results are same, but the interpretation will differ. Why will it differ? It differs because the theoretical framework of a person who is examining the outcomes differs. A psychologist will be interpreting the results differently. A physiologist will differ, a psychologist will different, a sociologist will give a different outcome. So both social scientists will give different outcomes, though both of them are social scientists, and a doctor will give a different interpretation. So measurement of outcome also has to be linked with the research question. If the research question is related to the medical, only medical doctors should interpret, psychologists should not interpret. If the research question is pertaining to the emotional intelligence, then only psychologists should interpret, but not the physical doctor. Like that, research questions and measurement of outcomes both are to be matched. Similarly, when you do all these three, the fourth most important part is protection against systematic bias, non-systematic bias, and inferential error. Systematic bias means in the system itself there will be bias. While selecting the sample, you are biased. You select a convenient sample and declare it as a randomized sampling. That is called systematic bias. Then non-systematic bias is you have selected the randomized sample only, but you are influenced by the sponsorer. Somebody is sponsoring money to you, and then a pharmaceutical company may sponsor a drug test to a scientist. So he is influenced by the sponsorer to support, or he will become an advocate of the pharma. That is non-systematic bias. Then comes inferential error. Inferential error, as I've already explained to you, that inference is drawn with the theoretical framework, different backgrounds, different outcomes, and different results will come. So all these things, if you are doing it by consciously, there is no problem in quality research. If you are blinded, then there is every danger that you are making quality research as a casualty. So this is called quality research. Quality research must be very, very clear. While research quality pertains to the scientific process evidence, quality pertains more to a judgment regarding the strength and confidence one has in the research findings emanating from the scientific process. What does it mean? That means what is the confidence with which you are presenting your research findings? How much confidence do you have? What is the degree of confidence? The degree of confidence depends upon the level of significance. You must declare your level of significance well in advance. Your level of significance could be 5%, 1%, or 0.0009%. See, it all depends upon the consequence of your research. If you are deciding the going for a terrorist activity, your confidence level has to be 99.99999%. I'll give an example, you will understand better. When Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated in 1991, one lady came with a garland full of guillotine sticks. She is supposed to garland him, and automatically it should blast the moment she garlands. Then both of them will die. That is the original plan. If she fails, there is another person who can do a photograph. He has got a flash. It's not a flash actually. The moment he touches the flash, it will shoot the target, that is Rajiv Gandhi. Suppose he also fails. Then there is a journalist who was standing there with a pajama and kurta with a book of this size. It's not a book. When he opens, it is a revolver, he shoots. Suppose he also fails. There is a person sitting at the 6th floor building at Siriperambur, and he has targeted exactly at the forehead of the Rajiv Gandhi. Any of the four should work. All four put together, their probability of hitting the target was 99.999%, and they have made a trial before that when VP Singh has visited that particular place one day ahead. That is the planning they have made. So there, if you find what is the level of significance, level of significance is 0.00009. But such things will not happen in normal social science research when we do. Because suppose you are working on which party will win the elections. Then estimation will be, if you ask anybody on survey based, somebody who is going to the polling, if you ask him, he may say, I will vote for X party. But if he goes inside, he must have told you to vote that he will vote only for X party. But by the time he walked 100 meters inside, at the time of polling, his mind changes. He will vote for another party and comes back. So this is called human being. Human beings behavior is uncertain. In such uncertainties, you cannot expect 99% accuracy. So you should go for a 5% level of significance. If you have a higher level of significance, then your possibility of committing type 2 error is less. Whereas if you have a lower level of significance, your chance of committing type 2 error is high. What do you mean by type 2 error? Accepting a wrong hypothesis. A wrong hypothesis is accepted as a right one. And right hypothesis, if you reject, it is called type 1 error. Both are different. Type 1 error is less dangerous and type 2 error is more dangerous. You know why? Example, somebody comes to you. You are a stock market expert. Somebody comes to you and asks, I want to invest in Nagarjuna group of companies. Shall I invest? Then you will calculate this yield ratio, that ratio, OCF, operation cash flows, etc., etc. And ultimately you advise him, no, don't go for investing in X company. Then that fellow does not invest. But his neighbor has invested without asking you, without having any help. And the money has doubled within 6 months. Then this is called type 1 error. Then your friend will come and say, Arey Baba, I thought you are an expert and you have given a wrong advice. I lost a lot of money. I would have earned a lot of money. This is type 1 error. Suppose you make all calculations and say, there is an excellent company, you invest. And that fellow sells all his property, including the jewelry of his wife, and then invests. And that company goes into the doldrum. Then it is called type 2 error. This time he will not grumble. He will come with a stick. So second one is more dangerous. So you must be able to balance these two and go for it. That is quality research. So you must declare well in advance what is your level of significance. So keeping this into account, let us discuss about how do you evaluate the systems to rate the strengths of body of evidence. Bodies of evidence means data. How do you say your data is strong? Data strength can be decided based on quality, quantity, consistency. Number one, quality. Aggregate of quality ratings for individual studies predicated on the extent to which bias was minimized in the study designs. If your study design is robust, then chance for bias will be less. If your design is defective, your chance for bias will be high. So this is a quality test. Then you will have quantity test. How much quantity you have taken, sample size, and what are the statistical tools you have chosen, whether they are appropriate or not, and what is the magnitude of the effects found or on the effect of the size also. These three will impact the quantity chosen by you. Then consistency, how consistent your results are. These three are important as far as the bodies of evidence are concerned. So once these things are there, you have good coherence and consistency, your findings are robust. Standards of assessing the quality of research, it includes, you have about certain parameters. These parameters are very important to assess the standard of a quality of research. Your standard is said to be high if these parameters are taken care. Number one, posing the significant important question that can be invested empirically and that contributes to the knowledge base. If your research questions are defective, your quality of research will be defective. We have already discussed this. Test questions that are linked to the relevant theory. Many students think that data collection is not connected to theory. So many students, I ask some of the research scholars, what is the progress of your research? They say, sir, data collection is almost over, sir. I have to just read few books, literature relating to this to write the thesis. That means they are putting the cart before the horse. They have collected the data like a madman. What data they have collected, they have no idea. It's a madman's stone in the hands of madman. What will you do with that data? That entire data is useless for you because you have not collected the data which is required. when you have a horse in front of you, the horse will take you the right destination. So that is the important point to be remembered. Then apply methods that address the questions. The research questions and methods must be very much coherent to each other. Otherwise, methods will spoil you. This is just like applying the lipstick to your cheeks instead of applying the powder. So applying the lipstick may improve the beauty of a lady, but if she applies it to the cheeks, what will happen? So that is the called applying a wrong method for a right research question. Then base research on on clear chains of inferential reasoning supported and justified by a complete coverage of literature survey. I have already covered this. Literature survey is the ultimate basis on which everything is based. Provide the necessary information to reproduce or replicate the study. See, your study tools and research inputs should be so robust that same inputs, same tools, if you give it to another person, not you, when he does it, he should get the same results. Then only you are considered to be quality research. Then ensure the study design, methods, procedures sufficiently transparent. Ensure independent, balanced, objective approach. So unless you are very objective in your approach, you will not be successful. Then provide sufficient description of the sample. See, what is the sample? You must be able to describe clearly. Intervention, where are you interfering? Sometimes we interfere. For example, control variable, I was using that particular sentence. If you choose a school, you call it as control variable if you don't allow other food to be supplied to the person. If a person is going home and taking dinner at his house, then you are out of control. Dinner also must be provided by you. Then only it is called controlling the variable. That is called intervention. You are intervening with the food system of the boy. Such interventions must be declared. How many calories you have increased, how many calories you have reduced, how many proteins you have increased, how many cholesterol levels you have reduced. This you must describe very clearly. And if your boy is going home, then it is lost. Then similarly, comparison groups, you must be able to declare. This must be clearly declared. Use appropriate and reliable conceptualization and measurement variables. The measuring the variables, measurement variables must be declared clearly. Concepts must be clear. If concepts are not clear, quality research, you cannot do it. Then evaluate the alternative explanation for findings. As I was mentioning, a finding can be explained by different background people in a different way. So you must be able to give chance for alternative explanations of the same findings, and you must justify how your explanation is justified compared to other explanations. That is the transparency. That is what expected in quality research. Then submit research to a peer review. Peer review is somebody, see, research is not something confidential. I will keep it inside. Somebody will steal, somebody will publish, somebody will get his degree before me if I reveal it. All such things, all what you call childish talk. You must discuss the research with your peer group, and peer group must approve. Then only, if you can't convince your own colleagues, how can you convince the public that your research work is robust? So that is what you have to do. Adhere to the quality standards for reporting. Cogent, clear, complete. Then only it is possible. This is, I have given sources of whatever I am talking. I am not talking anything from my side. I am talking purely from Google information. So standardized research, how to do, we have discussed. Now whatever research we have done, it has to be reported also properly. So how do you report the standardized reporting? Published research quality assessment is often poor because essential information is frequently absent. People do not give information about the sample they have studied, statistics they have used, randomization they have done, analysis tools they have used, interventions they have conducted. See, if such information is not given, we say we cannot judge the quality research. That is the reason something I have published, people will bring, I have got 100 publications, 120 publications. Where did you publish? I published in X journal, Y journal, X magazine, Y magazine, X newspaper, Z newspaper. Please remember, every terminology I have used have got their own target audience. Newspaper readers will have a general readers, number one. They will not read if it is too technical, number two. Number three, they will be reading for only one day purpose. Next day they don't read. I don't read a newspaper in the evening. If I miss it in the morning, I feel it is outdated. So such, whatever you have published, it is not considered to be a research article, even in Economic Times, for that matter. Then your magazine, even Harvard Business Review once upon a time was considered it is only a magazine, it is not a journal. If it is a journal, then it should be peer reviewed, and it should be indexed, and it should be cited, and its citation index it will have impact factor. All such things will be there, and those things will be there based upon these things. If these things are being shown in the data or not, they will look into it. So Gatschia, Berchow and Alcards, they concluded that reporting of test statistics, degrees of freedom, two items that are needed to calculate p-values is often absent from the published articles, even in medical research. People are not giving on what are the two items you have chosen to calculate p-values. That also they are not giving. So it's not a research, it's not quality research. To facilitate quality review, several group of scholars recommend standardized research reporting framework to ensure essential research information needed to assess the quality. It is included in the journal article. So journal will have certain parameters. Only such journals are considered to be approved. IMRAD will not work. What is IMRAD? Introduction, methodology, results, conclusion. If these four are there, many people think that the research is over. No. You have to look. That is the reason journals like Scopus contain checklists. Hence, the UGC insists on listed journals only. So you need to remember that reporting also is to be done like that. Now we come to the last two aspects, that is emerging trends in quality research. When you talk about the trends, there are plenty of trends. I have chosen which are given in the internet again. Quality research has undergone a transformative change. Traditionally, qualitative data was gained through interviews, focus groups, documents in which what was widely considered to be expensive and time-consuming process. But those days are gone. Today you have evolution of technology, emergence of social media, emergence of mobile data. In particular, the quality research is fundamentally changing. People are doing research on social media. Through social media, you administer a questionnaire, you interview the candidates, you record the reviews of the candidates, you learn the experience of the candidate, anger of a person, and anger of a consumer also is measured. And then you will look to the degree of anger expressed by a consumer is also measured for marketing research purpose. So rise of unstructured data propelled by novel technologies is reshaping markets and management of marketing activities. See, increased data may remain mostly untapped by many firms, suggesting a potential for further research. Unstructured data means what? A big data. But you get the data from the retailers, the videos of departmental stores. The video, if you look to the video of a departmental store, you can observe when a consumer is moving around the departmental store, the moment he touches the product, what is he seeing? Many of Indians will see the MRP. After seeing the MRP, they will see the product. If you say an American does not do that. He will look to the performance, trial, etc. At last, he will see the MRP. So that based on that, people have come to a conclusion that price is a good cue for driving the consumer to the market and getting a response. So drive cue response theory, reinforcement theory, cue response theory of Pavlovian model, if you want to examine, that will be done based on the videos that you get from the departmental stores. So that is the unstructured data example I give. So that is similarly, amount of digital text available for analysis. Consumer researchers have risen. Consumer discussions on the internet, product reviews, digital archives of new articles, and press releases are just a few potential sources for insights about consumer attitudes, interaction, even culture. Consumer culture can be examined based upon these models. These are all the emerging trends in quality research based upon the online. There are about 5 trends gaining traction in digital market. Market research online communities, MROC. It combines the social media, online discussion, quality research, long-term benefits, in-depth insights, unparalleled level of access to the program participants. You make the people participate. Some people you invite and ask them to play a game. Gamification, live chat, bulletin boards, other methods. See, you may examine potential students, how frequently they are coming to the event managements which we are doing. Somebody may participate in songs competition, somebody may participate in arts competition, somebody may participate in photography participation. Consistently, all events somebody participating means he is attracted to your college. So this is a method of identifying the candidates, potential candidates, and estimating the demand. Mobile ethnography. Ethnography was once research method reserved for large projects. Today, ethnography we are talking about is the contextual, immersion studies, mobile polls, video chat, other tools we use. So such things are possible now. Increased automation. Say you use the artificial intelligence, data mining tools, trend tools, algorithms, and others. They collate data and achieve the results. This is called increased automation and accelerated speed. The speed in which you are doing. Earlier, PhD work, people were doing for 3 years, 5 years. Today, your tools are changed. Your online data access is so high and your tools are very high. A matured, experienced person may take only 2 years to complete the research if he is totally dedicating. So it is changed now. Increased emphasis on customer experience. How does a customer experience, did a customer experience, you have to look into it. So all these things are possible. I have given the source also. I'm sharing the one. You people can go into the depth of the articles to know the details of those research methods while you use them. Now we come to the last aspect of challenges. Challenges in quality research. You know, major challenge in the quality research is interdisciplinary. Earlier, you know, there was only one discipline. If you are doing research in finance, the person who is doing research is in finance, knowledge is examined only in finance. And the examiner also must, you choosing is very easy. You choose a finance expert, he will ask questions in finance, done. But in today, it's not so. A finance person is working along with the behavioral scientist, consumer behavior, and finance target group behavior. Both together, people are talking about consumer variables are used in finance data. So you have a behavioral scientist, you have a finance person, and you also look to the accounting. accounting expert, finance expert, and the psychology expert, three together. It is possible there could be a collaborative research, because many research articles people are producing today in a collaborative manner. In such case, the persons who are writing the article, all three from different dimensions, may do the best job. But when it goes to the examiner, examiner also must be interdisciplinary. If he does not have knowledge in one and he is having only knowledge in other, then it becomes difficult. In fact, we should recall the good olden joke which what do you say, George Bernard Shaw had. You know, a wonderful, beautiful looking lady, she wrote a letter to the George Bernard Shaw saying that I am the very beautiful, I am the Miss Universe in the world, and you are world famous intelligent fellow. If both of us marry together, we can produce children with your intelligence and my beauty. Then George Bernard Shaw said, wonderful proposition. However, if reverse happens, what will happen? So that is what happens in interdisciplinary research. So that is a big challenge in interdisciplinary research. Unless people get accustomed to the terminology used by others, you cannot do. For example, stigma. The word stigma is used by a sociologist differently, a psychologist differently, a medical person differently. So if you, one writer says that ultimate result has come, whether it is neither satisfying medical, nor sociologist, nor psychologist. The stigma definition is given by the authors. So it will happen in challenges of quality research. We discuss this part. Second most important challenge is, many people think that scientific research is different, art research is different. Art has nothing to do with the research. That is what many people think. But unfortunately, they are in a wrong dilemma, because science speaks of system, methodology, chronological, logical, rational, objective, systematic. You can talk anything about it. But art need not be like that. It need not be systematic. It need not be methodological. It is creative. It is intuitive. It is subjective. It is original. It is a spur of a moment. It comes. And you know, when you are doing research, a research will be successful only and only if creativity, which has no logical basis, is justified by the logical explanation of science. So art helps you to get ideas. Ravigansanicho kavigansune, we say in Telugu. That means a poet imagines that he is flying in the air, and that gives a scope why a man does not fly. What should make us to fly? Why a bird flies and why I am not flying? And ultimately, logical thinking will result in creation of aeroplane. Similarly, imagination, if you do not have, you cannot expect scientific innovations. So art and science together, it should go. Similarly, when we talk about the data collection, level of analysis, presentation of element, qualitative inquiry, all these things are different from when you are looking from performing art. So how do you distinct a performing art from scientific methods? And how do you synthesize both in order to get innovation? That has to be looked as a challenge. It's a big challenge. What kind of discussion do colleagues from different disciplines, this I have already discussed, with a background, different disciplines, how do you discuss? Then experienced researchers reflect on their own learning of craft. What do they see as the most important moments? You must be able to recall your most important moments and then click it to the logic. Then it becomes research. So you need to think all these things, then only you can expect a quality research. So we have discussed what is quality research, then what are the standards, what are the ways and means you can assess the quality, Then what are the standards of research you reporting? Then how do we go for emerging trends in research? Then what are the challenges? These are the 5 aspects we have seen. I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact with so many people. And on 25th, I am ready with your questions. You please go through this PowerPoint as well as my lecture, and then prepare thoroughly, and then come back with your questions. I'll be ready to answer them. And you give me about this particular lecture, how it is, through the feedback to my achala56@gmail.com. Thank you very much for the opportunity.